Because he doesn't have access to it.
Oh, okay, never mind. Then I ain't gonna tag him. Yeah, if you're in communication with him, I'll just. While I'm back, yeah, if you're in communication with him, I'll just.
Oh, because he's not in the podcast show channel. Hopefully we can get him in here sooner or soon. Hopefully we can get him in here
Like, due to the weather complications in Las Vegas. When do you think? Like kind of like sim it, and then it's like what?
Why is his invite not working? That's what I'm trying to figure out. I wish I knew T-Kells' name. I said 10 minutes. Oh, 2 minutes.
Okay, that's cool.
As soon as it hits 9:12 on my thing, and then that way Jagoda can edit this, so because obviously it's live, so.
Mm-hmm.
All right, welcome to Crossfire Deep Dive. This is your host, Revival. Sitting beside me is Dallas the Savage, and we're here to bring you another episode for the Crossfire League. We got T-Kells as our special guest, and we got a few topics to address. Before we go to our first topic, I just want to send best wishes to our Bears user, Andre. Also want to shout out to the Crossfire League for reaching our GoFundMe goal within 24 hours. Thanks to Jagoda and the staff for putting that together, and the Brotherhood of Crossfire for making that happen. The first topic we're going to go into is we're going to talk about the playoff picture. I know the AFC is kind of in limbo. We're going to have Dallas start off with the AFC picture and talk about that.
What up, everybody? So, whenever you look at the AFC, the way I decided to just look at it was from top to bottom. So, starting off with the 1 seed, which would obviously be me, and I'll just address a couple of strengths, weaknesses, key things to focus on, and then go team by team. So, for instance, the Miami Dolphins, we're the 1 seed. We are 4th in the league in points per game, 14th in scoring defense. Now, pass offense is only ranking at 21st, which is kind of surprising knowing, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. But we come back around with the 2nd ranked rushing offense in all of Crossfire. Whenever you look at our red zone efficiency, which to me is especially, it's all about putting up points, which is crazy because we are 4th in points per game, but we are dead last in the league in red zone scoring efficiency. We only put up points in the red zone 25% of our drives. However, on the defensive end, we are 6th in allowing points. And so in terms of we only allow points 34% of the time on defense. The Miami Dolphins ranking 5th in takeaways and then 3rd in turnover difference. So obviously we're going to get the ball and then we're not going to turn it over. Obviously 1 seed have the bye week, so it's more of just a wait and see for what happens. Whenever you're looking at the 2 seed and the potential matchups that can derive from there, you're looking at the Bengals playing either the Chiefs or the Baltimore Ravens, I believe. And the Bengals, led by Bryce, obviously high-powered offense, 2nd in the league, averaging over 44, nearly 45 points per game. Defense is top 12, ranking in at 11th in scoring defense. He has the 2nd best pass offense, second only to Jodine. His rush offense is only ranked 20th, but obviously he's a very pass-heavy user. His red zone scoring efficiency is 8th in all of Crossfire. So he's going to score pretty much anytime he gets there, or nearly every time he gets there. His takeaways, he ranked 9th in takeaways, 4th in turnover differential. He is 2nd in 3rd down offense, which to me is going to be one of the key factors come playoff time. However, one weakness of the Bengals that I saw was he has the 3rd worst run defense in all of Crossfire, which obviously, playoff time, where it gets cold and people kind of start to tense up. So that run defense can get exposed, and it has been getting exposed throughout the season. So we are interested to see how that comes around playoff time. And then you're looking at who will he be playing. Well, the Bengals is going to either play the Chiefs or the Ravens, like I said. And the Chiefs, top 10 pass offense, great. 12th in scoring offense, pretty good. However, a very lackluster run game, very great score defense. He's given up the 7th fewest points in all of Crossfire, which is hey, whenever you got a quarterback like Mahomes, and then you give him a great defense, I mean, you know it's pretty much going to happen. You're competing for a Super Bowl. The things that give cause for concern is he does have a below average run defense. However, his pass defense ranks in the top 5 in all of Crossfire. His red zone offense, in terms of scoring efficiency, again, ranks 12th in all of Crossfire. However, his red zone defense is the 6th worst. Turnover difference ranks 15th in Crossfire, but it's only by 1 turnover. So he only has 1 more takeaway than giveaways. Not a good thing. And in terms of third down percentage, he ranks 11th, so above average, close to the top 10 in all of the league. And then based upon, the win, I know the Ravens lost, so it's all dependent upon the Chiefs. If the Chiefs were to, I believe, lose this game, I'll have to double check, the entire playoff scenarios. But he would play the Bengals, and if the Chiefs were to win the game, then the Ravens would play the Bengals. And the Ravens have the 9th best scoring offense, 22nd in scoring defense. That was one thing that stood out to me about the Ravens is their defense is very underwhelming, which goes against the identity of the Baltimore Ravens. His pass offense ranks 7th. Rush offense ranks 6th. But bottom 5 in rush defense, bottom 5 in pass defense, ranks 24th in third down defense, 24th in red zone scoring percentage, and 18th in red zone defense, with a -7 turnover differential, while also being in the bottom 6 of takeaways. This for me is very worrisome because it's like you're putting a lot of pressure on your offense to perform, but you're also turning the ball over with this offense whenever you compare it to other users who can put up points but not turn the ball over as well. And they're actually more prone to, getting the ball away and getting those extra possessions, whereas he's not likely to do the same. And going on to our next user, we got our 3rd seed, which is T-Kells, man. T-Kells. I saw his record and I was like, man, that's a really interesting record. 12-4 currently, waiting to play his next game. But it's worrisome. 22nd in scoring offense. However, top 5 in scoring defense, ranking in at 4th. Bottom 4 passing offense. Average rushing offense. However, whenever he gets to the red zone, he scores. And whenever his defense is in the red zone, they give up points. So it's like, what is going on here? 19th in takeaways, 6th in turnover differential, 9th in third down offense, 8th worst run defense, though. Very worrisome, just like the Bengals. And then going on to the next 2 users. And this is probably going to be, I believe, as long as the Jaguars win, everything will play out how it should. Which is, we're looking at a matchup of Billa versus the Jags, which is you got the 7th rated offense versus the 3rd rated offense, with the 7th being the Jags. My bad. 7th being the Jags versus Billa being 3rd. The Jags have the 6th best defense, while Billa has the 12th best defense. Billa ranks 3rd on third down percentage. The Jags, however, rank below average at 18th. Billa is 27th in red zone scoring percentage, while the Jags is 10th. Both have absolutely stellar run defense. Also, both are equally as good as the pass, ranking in the upper echelon of the league. Billa has the 2nd rated turnover differential. Jags has the 7th rated turnover differential. Billa ranks 6th in sacks, and the Jags rank 19th in sacks, which for me personally, this is going to be like the most entertaining game or intriguing game amongst the AFC, because I think it'll be a really close game because these teams all season have been really close. Billa is obviously more war tested, but I think Jags, as long as he plays his cards right, can pull off a potential upset. And that pretty much wraps up things for the AFC. What about you over there in the NFC with the NFC Revival?
start with the games that are going to be going on after the advance. So we have the Atlanta Falcons versus the New York Giants. The Falcons offense right now ranks fourth in passing. The rushing rank, however, is 25th. Keep in mind, this is also going into a future topic, but I think the rushing defense is also dropping as well as due to injuries. Their points per game, however, it ranks fifth in Crossfire. However, their defense does play a little bit of role here, and it does kind of, put some little alerts out there for anybody that's playing them. They're 20th in allowed passing yards. They're 16th allowed rushing yards. They're 18th in points allowed. However, they're 10th in interception, but they're tied for 29th in fumble recoveries. So, which means chances are if they have you cough up the ball, with a hit stick or whatnot and fumble, you might have maybe like a 1 in 10 chance to actually grab the ball. They are top 10 in turnover differential with plus 15. They are 6th in red zone percentage on offense. However, they are the third highest penalized team as in terms of penalty yards. So this team is literally probably, I think it's ranked the 29th, worst team in Crossfire as far as penalty yards. So, you know what I mean? That's something to keep in mind if the team is, going to play discipline come, playoff night. Also, as far as in the defense-wise goes, they are 8th in sacks, and they are 15th in red zone points percentage. So, again, their defense does have kind of like some good points, but there's a lot of bad points in there. There's a lot of disadvantages they have. Going to the Giants have the 10th offense in total. As far as like the total offensive yards of the year, their offense is ranked 16th. 18th in total yards. They're 5th in rushing yards on offense. However, they're 18th in passing yards allowed. They're 19th in rushing yards allowed on defense. They're 17th in points allowed. However, they don't get too many interceptions. They're tied in 21 for interceptions. They're one of the worst on fumble recoveries. They're right along with the Falcons. Again, they get a fumble. Chances are they're not recovering it either. So they just keep that in mind. They're also not the greatest on pass rush. They're the 21st in sacks. And they're also bad on a turnover differential. They're ranked 18th. They're also they're pretty disciplined as far as what penalty-wise goes in total yards. So I'm going to give the keys to victories in this game. For the Atlanta Falcons, what they have to do, in my opinion, is they have to do what they do best and pass the ball and score with Riddler, who can arguably be a top 4 quarterback statistic-wise, having 3 receivers with 1,000+ yards over. Chisina, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Kyle Pitts, and you got St. Brown, and then just put points on the board. With the Giants' 18th ranked defense in passing and with the 20th ranked defense in converting turnovers, they should be able to lead the way, with no issues. However, Atlanta, for the Falcons on defense, they need to force Daniel Jones to pass. Daniel Jones right now has 28 touchdowns and 29 interceptions. It's clear that he's an interception magnet. However, the keys for the Giants to win, in my opinion, is for them to run the ball and control time of possession. Force the Falcons to run the ball. The Falcons have one of the less than stellar run games, especially with Cordell Patterson being out due to injury. They don't have a top-tier running back at home, and I feel like a lot of pressure on Riddler could force them to change their defense. It also, with the team not being that great at putting pressure and getting turnovers, they might want to send some disguised blitzes. On defense for the Giants to really capitalize, I think they just need to get the Falcons into a lot of 3rd and longs and keep Pitts and Chisina in check. As far as going into red zone opportunities, their defense is very good in red zone. And maybe instead of getting touchdowns, you can force, the Falcons to just get field goals or possibly push them into turnovers. As the famous saying goes, you bend but don't break. Limit them to minimum possessions and just try to control the time of possession. If you tire out the defense and keep the Atlanta offense on ice, I feel like that's their best chance of winning. For the next game, we have the 49ers versus the Lions. I'm actually pretty excited about this game just because, the 49ers with their stellar defense. Going into the 49ers, however, it's not very impressive on offense. They're 30th in total offensive yards. They're 30th in passing, which means you don't have to worry too much about the 49ers passing, as if you watched, the last game they played when the ball was in Trey Lance's hand, it ended up, just becoming a turnover city. However, they are 9th in rushing. They are 18th in points. They're 8th in third down conversions. So that's a big key thing too, is converting on third downs, to kind of extend the play and just keep the ball rolling down the field. They're 7th in red zone conversion percentage on offense. However, they're 23rd in red zone defensive points percentage. So, this isn't always, this isn't the greatest defense when it comes to terms as far as, being in the red zone. However, they're number 1 in pass defense. They're number 1 in rush defense. They're tied 4th in sacks. They're tied 9th in fumble recoveries. They don't cause too many turnovers as far as like interceptions wise goes. They're ranked 19th. However, they're 8th in turnover differential, and they're a pretty well disciplined team. Going into the Detroit Lions, they're 8th in total offense. They're 5th in passing. They're 25th in rushing. They're 11 points per game, and they're 4th in third down conversions. Also a big key stat. However, they're 23rd in red zone points percentage on offense, which is not that great. So this might be something where, they might want to score, before they get to the red zone. Obviously, it's not something that you plan out to try to score, but this may be one of those things you might have to, look for and definitely keep an eye on. However, they are 3rd in defensive red for points wise. So which means this team is very stingy when it comes to giving up points in the red zone. So that may play a role, especially with the run game with the San Francisco 49ers, if they're just kind of running the ball. Unless they're getting big chunks here, they're more than likely going to be going to have red zone opportunities if they get down the field. And this is where there's going to be, the run defense, and, it's going to be that defense, that red zone defense against that run game. And, you're going to find out who's going to be, the better team. They also are 9th in sacks, and they're tied 18th in fumble recoveries. So they're kind of sort of like average in the middle of the pack as far as, recovering the ball when they, forcing a fumble. They are 11th in interceptions, and they are 28th in turnovers, turnover differential. So which means, they're turning the ball over just as much as they're getting it. So just, that's also a key stat, and I feel like that can play a big role, especially when it comes to just, the turnover game. They are very disciplined as far as with, penalties wise goes. So my key things for the 49ers to win, basically what they have to do on offense is they got to run the ball. They got to control the time of possession. With the Lions defensive ranked 21st in rushing, it should be easy to test that Lions defense. Trey Lance, in my opinion, if you're the 49ers user, do not let Trey Lance throw more than 25 times per game. I don't care what you got to do. Do not let him throw more than 25 times per game. If he has more than 25 times per game, you're going to put Trey Lance in a position he doesn't really want to be in. And this is just to keep the game safe and keep it in hand, just in case, it becomes a defensive game. On defense, however, for the 49ers to win, they need to put pressure and turn the ball over. With the Detroit Lions being 28th in turnover differential, it shouldn't be that difficult in getting turnovers. Jordan Love has 34 touchdowns and has 40 interceptions. And if somehow he got injured in this game, and I'm not wishing an injury on him, Jared Goff is no better. He has 1 touchdown, 11 interceptions. So, you kind of have, you have bad and you have worse. However, for the Detroit Lions to win on offense, they're going to have to play conservative, and they're going to have to play turnover-free football, which means they're going to have to take care of the football and not make risky throws. If Love starts to beat the team himself, then this can turn into a long game. Going against the number 1 defense is definitely no easy task. So this is something that you might have to just go into your playbook and just kind of go to, have those go-to plays and just kind of play conservative. On defense, however, you got to stuff the run, and you got to force pressure on Trey Lance. Do not let the 49ers get comfortable with running the ball. Stuff McCaffrey and load the box. Force 49ers to pass. If Trey Lance is faced with pressure, he tends to turn the ball over. Also, be disciplined and do not commit silly penalties. This has been something very notorious what Detroit has done. They are disciplined, however, they have given up silly penalties when they have counted, and they've made a big difference in their games. For the next game, we have the Bucks versus the Cowboys. Also a great game. The Bucks is 6th in total yards. They're 6th in passing. They're 21st in rushing. They're 8th in points per game. They're tied 5th in third down conversions. They're 9th in red zone conversions for offense. They're 30th in red zone conversion on defense, which is not good at all. 7th in pass defense, 11th in rush defense. They're 24th in sacks, 9th in fumble recoveries, which is pretty good. They're tied 25th in the league for interceptions. However, they're 7th in turnover differential, and they're 23rd in penalties as far as penalty yards goes. You have the Cowboys 20th in total yards. They're 24th in passing, 10th in rushing, 10th in points per game. They're not very great on third down conversions, ranking 28th in the league. They have one of the worst red zone offenses, ranked 31st in red zone points percentage for offense. However, they have a stellar red zone defense, ranked 11th. They are 17th in pass defense, and they're very strong on the run defense, ranked 5th. However, they do put a lot of pressure, and they're 4th in sacks. They are tied 4th in fumble recovery. So if they do get a hit stick and they do have you cough up the ball, more than likely they're going to recover the ball. They're tied 5th in interceptions, and they're tied 5th in turnover differential, and they're 7th in the least amount of penalties in the Crossfire League. So for the Bucks to win on offense, they need to rely on Tom Brady and protect Tom against the pass rush. Tom Brady has protected the ball, only throwing 13 interceptions while throwing 51 touchdowns. He has an amazing touchdown-interception ratio. Going against the Cowboys defense, who are average on defense, if protected, he should have his way. However, the Cowboys are notorious for causing havoc on defense, so they need Tom Terrific to play careful, efficient football. So pretty much what it comes down to is, they're going to have to come up with quick design plays, maybe some quick plays, just maybe some drag routes, maybe some flats, maybe some curl routes, or maybe just some, some quick plays. I don't think they're going to have too much time to really wait for those other, those long plays to develop. I don't know if play action might play a role in that. However, we'll get to see, what happens there. But I think, like I said, the key thing is protecting Tom Brady, because, if you load the box and you put pressure on him, it can turn into a different ball game, especially with getting some sacks. On defense, they just need to stuff the run and cause some fumbles. They're very good at fumble recoveries. They push the Cowboys to pass, as Dak Prescott is even on a touchdown-intercept ratio. However, you could possibly cause more, just depending on how much pressure you put on them. Also, the Cowboys, again, as I stated before, they have one of the worst red zone teams in the Crossfire League on offense. So maybe forcing them in the red zone could actually be towards your benefit, which could maybe cause some potential turnovers, or maybe Dak being aggressive, or the Dallas Cowboys being aggressive on offense, and maybe cause the turnovers, or maybe turnovers on down, depending on how aggressive they want to play. However, for the Cowboys to win on offense, it's very simple. Feed Pollard and Zeke the ball. There's nothing more to it. Prescott has been known to use his legs if he needs to for small gains, so you always have an optional threat if you're passing the ball. Dak can play carefree football when he wants to, but the question really is which Dak will show up. With the Bucks having let me take that back. With them having the 6th ranked defense on passing, or the passing defense, it'd probably be wise to just let them run the ball and let the run game do the work, and just control time of possession. On defense, it's a large task, but put pressure on Tom Brady. Tom Brady has been sacked 33 times, and with the Dallas Cowboys defense being 4th in sacks, I would definitely capitalize on that. You also might get some interceptions, as Tom might aggressively throw the ball into tight coverage. One thing for certain is on defense in the red zone, the Cowboys are also a top tier team, ranking 11th. Again, I feel like with this thing, I'm noticing, in these playoffs, there's a lot of teams that depend on the run, and there's nothing wrong with depending on the run. However, you have to learn how to play conservative, and you have to learn how to balance that, because you can't put too much of the run game emphasis on, in the game, because then eventually, people are just going to load the box. Now, the bad side about that and the risk to that loading the box is that if they break free and get past that last defender, the only person you might have back there is a safety. And unless you got a hard-hitting safety, it's not going to look good. So you kind of have to play strategy there. With that said, we're going to introduce our guest. We have our guest here, T-Kells. We're going to have Savage bring him in. Go ahead, take it away.
TKells, man. Can you hear me?
I can. What's up, fellas?
All right, what up, man?
What up?
Hopefully having a good day. So we see, you've been a little surprising guy. You've flown under I would say kind of flown under the radar, but still stood out in some ways. And you've led the Raiders to a 12-5 record heading into this postseason. You will have a home playoff game. And really, I guess I would just start off with, man, how do you feel like your season has gone so far for you? Like, what are your thoughts on your season?
Personally, I feel like, well, first of all, let me say this. Thanks for inviting me on. I've seen Crossfire start in its early stages, so to be here now is really cool. And I admire Jagoda for keeping this thing going. So I want to start that off first off. But as far as my Raiders, I'm gonna tell you, dating back early on in Crossfire, I had success in the league. And I think my recipe to success is having a formidable defense and being able to run the ball. That's usually my strength. And since I've been able to do that with the Raiders, I've been confident in doing what I've been doing. So, but that's not to disrespect anybody in my division, because I see everybody in my division is tough, and I know that they're coming. So salute to everybody in my division, because I see, what I'm saying. I'm not going to call out any names, but I see y'all. I see y'all. But yeah, that's been the strength of my game, is being able to run the ball and play formidable defense, and try to mix it up a little bit too. Because like he was just saying, like it's important that you run the ball, but you have to pass it. And I had to trust Derek Carr to be able to throw some dimes from time to time. So that's definitely helped. I'm, I'm more than content with what I've been able to do with that team right now.
Okay. Also, you spoke upon how you were into Crossfire in the early stages. Like, for you, what has it been like seeing the evolution over time?
I'm gonna tell you. I mean, to see the rules evolve, to see the talent evolve. Because I mean, early on, I think it was a matter of trying to create a foundation that the league can be started on, right? And then after a while, then people were like, okay, this is more than just playing a game. This is becoming very competitive. It even becomes personal after a while. And seeing that, I mean, we see what goes on in the chat. Oh, what I mean? It's personal real quick. And I would say in the early stages of Crossfire, I saw that develop as well. So then it became more of a, let me not just put this on the side as like a little thing that I do. Let me put some real effort and strategy and scheme behind it. So it's been impressive to see that people are dedicating that much time and effort to try to be the best that they can be, and to put their team on, and to create a name for themselves. So it's been beyond impressive.
Okay. For you, in terms of, we had the situation where, EA essentially deaded a lot of franchises for a lot of people, in which there had to be a restart and a redraft. And so obviously whenever you get the opportunity to redraft a team, I feel like there's certain key things that people want to hit whenever they're picking a team that they want to use. For you, like, what was the logic behind taking the Raiders? Because obviously you say you're a person that likes to play defense. The Raiders aren't known necessarily for having a great all-around defense. They have a couple good players, but as a whole defense, you would say it's lacking. I guess you would say.
Totally agree. I'm gonna tell you, when you're at the bottom of the litter, and you picking 26. You're picking the best of what you can. And I'm to be honest with the different pieces that they had, because I can understand some people are thinking, well, they're a little older. Their car might not be the best, to lead you to the playoffs or beyond. But I was looking at, okay, pass rush, because we all understand, at least to my knowledge, I believe we all understand that getting to the quarterback is one of the most important things already, especially in this year's game. So I was like, okay, I was watching them drop. Oh, nobody picked them yet. Nobody? Okay, let them fall to me then. Crosby on one side, Chandler on the other side. I was like, okay, let me just see first. Let me not even amp it up. I was looking at some other teams as well because, I'm a Falcons fan. But, at some point in time, you didn't have to put your fandom aside and just be like, okay, I got to do what's best for me to be able to win. And when I saw them drop, because I saw some of the comments, they were like, people, I think they overlooked them a little bit. And then given that, EA has dropped the ball in many regards and understanding that we're going to be on a shorter cycle as far as this particular year, we're not at least in my mindset, I don't have time to develop and draft and really mold a whole bunch of players. We don't have that much time. So picking where I'm picking, I need to try to get the best team that I can win right now. I can at least kind of cultivate, somewhat of a defense through free agency, get some corners and some linebackers. At least I have a pass rush. Like at least I can get to the quarterback. That was my main thing. And then with Jacobs, I understand that he's not an X factor. That is disappointing, especially seeing what that boy Jonathan Taylor, what the Colts is doing. If I had hey man, shout out the Colts. Because that boy's a problem. That boy is a problem. I wish I had that ability, but I don't with Jacobs. But he's still been formidable for me, and has allowed me to be able to keep my offense pretty balanced. But I mean, I'm still predominantly rushing, but that allows me to try to control the clock and manage that the best of my ability. So, yeah, man, like that was my thinking. Like, try to win now. This is my, picking 26 in the 20s. Like, all the top teams are gone. So, like, what can I do with what's left in the bottom of the barrel? And I, chose the Ravens.
Okay. And so obviously, you having the Raiders having them be an older team. There's always like a question about, where somebody's like, oh, what if I had this person? What if I had this team? What if I had, whatever. Like for me, it's my dream situation would be to get the Ravens to start off with a lead because I get everything I want in one team. Plus, it's my favorite team. So for you, with the Raiders being an older team and that win now window being so small, what would you say is like if you could pick a player, I guess, in the league to add to your team, what would that player be? Like what player do you think, oh man, if I had him, he would probably put me over the top to where I feel like, okay, I know I can for sure win a Super Bowl right now.
Right now, I would say Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
I would say Patrick Mahomes. I would say that now this is given that I already have the roster that I have now, right? I'm just adding a piece.
Correct.
To it.
You're just picking up and adding in one.
Patrick Mahomes, only because I would then not only be able to run the ball the way that I'm running it now, but then the option plays that I could run with that, the amount of hot routes that I could, oh my God, that's unstoppable at that point. I'm controlling the clock. I mean, we've seen with the hot route master, like that changes the whole game, at least in my eyes, only because I think users, especially in Crossfire, we've played the game long enough and seen the game enough to be like, okay, they're in spread formation. There are only so many routes. Okay. Gun bunch, okay, there's so many routes. But once you have that hot route master, then it becomes, okay, now I know that these particular sets of routes are in this formation, but I also know that the guy on the other side can do all kind of stuff now. So now I can't just, be so easy to jump a route or two. Like I actually have to be paying attention. Because I mean, everybody has tendencies, of course, but that having that ability, that changes the game right there. Because now, I mean, a post that's not available in a particular formation is now available in a particular formation, and they now have to be mindful of that. So that opens a whole gamut of plays. So I think that would be my Patrick Mahomes. Like I already have a good enough pass rush that kind of get me through. And I think I would be able to be even more dominant than I am now, especially with the accuracy thing, because that thing right there, sometimes Derek Carr throws it where he wants to throw it, And so I have to deal with that. But yeah, I would definitely choose Patrick Mahomes in that case.
Absolutely valid. Do you have any questions for T-Kells Revival?
Yeah. So I had one. So obviously, it's looking like you're gonna be in the playoffs. Is there any team that you see in the playoff picture in the playoff bubble? The ones that are already got their solidified spot that you're like, they might give me some trouble. I might have to actually maybe watch a clip of how they played, or have to actually have come up with a strategic game plan for.
I'm gonna tell you, with the AFC, man, listen to me. The AFC, anybody in the AFC can upset anyone, and I say that with full confidence, only because that conference. This is no disrespect to the NFC. You know what I'm saying? Showing love to the NFC right now, no disrespect. But the AFC, I mean, competition from top to bottom. Anybody can unseat anyone at any given time. So when we're having to post those Twitch and YouTube links, I'm tuned in to everybody because especially the AFC, because I know the amount of talent that we have over there. And I mean, like for instance, I'm gonna show some love to some people. The new Chargers user, I see you. That Titans team, Jacob, I know you're coming. I'm putting this on record so y'all know that I see y'all. And I know like a lot of the new users that are not aware of these users, I know that they're coming. I've seen what they've done in the past. So even right now, the picture that you all see right now is not going to be the same next year. I'm just being real with you. Come next season, there's going to be a lot of teams that we see that are seated where they are now that won't even make it. So I honestly feel like and respect anyone who's in the playoffs, NFC, AFC all together. But specifically the AFC, it's anybody's game. But if I had to choose two teams, I think we both know what two teams that would be. If I had to choose two. But as far as choosing anybody that's gonna upset or kind of just dismantle everything, that can be anybody. Honestly, I mean Jags. Jags is very underrated to me. Jags does not get the respect that he really should get because that team, with that team, I give him a lot of credit for doing that. That Dolphins team is no joke. That Bengals team is no joke. But I think honestly, when it comes down to the playoffs, because that rock can get heavy. And so I know that, the passing, it looks cute. But in the playoffs, you can get uncharacteristic. Little pressures coming your way. You start, that controller starts shaking on you, start getting nervous. And it's a really important. I mean, I think we've been there. Okay. I think it's real. But I think what's going to be most important is the third down percentage, which you guys did a really good job of going through. And I'm not going to highlight all of that because if they're really interested in doing it, I'll let them look that up. But the third down percentage is key. Being able to run the ball, a balanced game through and through, first of all, but being able to run the ball and to control the clock is going to be key. So I think that's one of the probably, in my opinion, one of the most forgotten things. It's cool to put up 49, 52 points in a game, but you also got to be mindful. You don't want to put your defense at risk if you really don't have the defense. And in our case, if you're looking at a lot of the teams that are in the playoffs, they're either doing really, really well on the offensive side and defensively, they're struggling, or defensively, they're doing really, really well and the offense is not so hot. So you're going to have to, I think the best way to protect both is to be able to run the ball and control the clock and limit the amount of possession that your opponent has, but while not being predictable. So I think that's the formula for doing all of that. But honestly, when it comes to the AFC, I think it can go any way, any way. But it's really two teams. If I had to bet the money, the house on, it's two of those. But just in general, it can go anywhere.
Okay. I guess like one last question before we transition. So then, obviously, you feel it's a lot of loaded talent in the AFC. Every game is pretty much going to be a war zone. Like we know what it's going to be.
Oh yeah.
So for you, let's say, you know, if you're unable, barring a Super Bowl victory, let's say you end up not making the Super Bowl, or let's say you end up not making the Super Bowl, or not winning the Super Bowl. What's like one user that is in the AFC playoffs currently? So, Bengals, Dolphins, Chiefs, Ravens, Bills, Jags, that even if you didn't win the Super Bowl but you beat them, you like, hey, I'm gonna hang my hat on that one.
Well, honestly, and this is not to dodge. I know people will be like, "You dodging the question," but I'm really not. Like, really, it would be an honor to one of them people in the AFC, especially. Let's just be real. The TKells slander that be in the group chat, I be seeing he be out of control from time to time. TKells, sorry, what I'm saying? I be seeing it. I'm saying got no names, but like I be seeing it. So like I already understand that I have a chip on my shoulder anyway. Because I know people be like, "Man, okay, he's on like that because he got some forced wins and we're not doing that. That division, sorry, we ain't really doing that." But like, I be doing what I be doing. You know what I'm saying? I hold my own. You know what I'm saying? We had some very bad L's, but for the most part, I'm not supposed to be up there. Okay, let's just be real. I'm just gonna be. I think it's important for me to go out and visit. Like, I was Patrick Mahomes in my division.
Sound like we're having some
Of the
technical difficulties.
Chargers, who's probably
Hello, TKells,
one
TKells,
of the
yeah,
top.
TKells,
Because
TKells. Can you hear me?
you're sounding like ET. I think he's getting
TKells,
abducted by
TKells,
Arn,
TKells,
spaceship.
TKells. Hold up, TKells. Just mute yourself, mute yourself, mute yourself.
Yes.
Oh man.
Probably.
Oh man. We might have to tell the producers and the directors in the background
Even
to
the
boot him
Broncos,
off the show.
it's a blessing. Like,
Oh man. You're gonna have to get off that dial up, man. You're gonna have to get out that McDonald Wi-Fi. We can't hear you.
Hold on. Okay. Well, transitioning. So, revival. What, what must be, what do you feel is most important, or what must be used in order to have a successful playoff run?
Well, I mean, I don't think this season. I don't think I could tell anybody how to do a successful playoff run. But looking at all the top tier teams, including yourself, and even a lot of guys that may have just missed it, just by just a little bit, it may have just been, unfortunate play or, forced loss or fair sim or something like that. I think the biggest thing is the quarterback position. The quarterback position and pretty much an offense. to be able to establish somewhat of an offense where, you're able to score points. However, I noticed that, defense is also important too in creating turnovers or at least getting stops. Um, I guess I'm going to be a little bit biased here just because, I used to play quarterback. I'm going to say you're going to have a strong offense, even though I always feel like defense wins championships. But I just think this is like a very offensive driven league. And, you know, I'm dying to see what the 49ers do, in the playoffs, just because I want to see if they actually take my advice or take anybody's advice, whoever's telling them, and actually see if they can establish the run game and control the time of possession. If I at least can see that at least once or twice in the playoffs by any team, doesn't even have to be the 49ers. If I can see someone establish the run game enough to the point where they're controlling the game, you know what I mean, where you're going to start seeing users getting so frustrated and just start, throwing 8 in the box and just, at this point, just calling any random plays. Um, I think then I would probably switch my answer. But like I said, I'm just going to go with offense because everybody I've seen that's, top tier teams, the ones that are locked in 1, 2, and 3 seeds, and even Billa that's in the 5th seed, um, which is a tough division with you. They all got good offense. So
That's pretty good, and I agree. Like offense is like the name of the game. Like to beat someone like Billa, to beat someone like Bryce, to beat someone like Jodine, like you're gonna have to score, and it's gonna be tough because they play good defense as well, and so you got to play just as perfect offense to match their offense. So it turns into more of like a pressure thing, which for me is the most important that I listed was it's really a mix of two things. But I would say it's composure and adaptability. So obviously, somebody might go down. If somebody goes down like 10-0, let's say, quick, you might see them, oh, they're trying to press the game. They're trying to press, and get the big play, get the big plays, rush everything. Whereas the same person who's just gonna, okay, look, as long as I get 3, I'm fine. I don't need 7 to make it a 3-point game. I don't need, all this, and that. Just let's go play it out. That to me is very important because you're not forcing anything and you're just going to play your game regardless of whatever the score is. And then also with that is adaptability. So I was saying, pretty much whenever it's the playoffs, for the most part, everybody's played everybody. Like the only AFC user in the playoffs I haven't played is just Kells. Well, actually, it's 3 of them. I haven't played Kells and I haven't played Chiefs, I believe, and I haven't played the Jags. But like, you pretty much know how everyone plays. So it's like, okay, I know I'm trying to neutralize whatever you do best. And so now, okay, who can go to their third, fourth game plan? Okay, you're seeing this guy's doing this to you really well. Okay, what are you going to do to stop that and take that away? And how many ways can you essentially win a game? Because if you're just a one-trick pony who's like, oh, I just want to run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Well, what happens whenever I get you in like you run the ball 1st and 10, okay, it's 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9. Okay, you run the ball again, okay, now we're at 3rd and 7, we're at 3rd and 9. What are you going to do now? Now you're playing into my hands, let alone if you go down multiple, like let's say you go down like 14 plus, 17 plus, depending on what that time is looking like, like possessions are going to be limited depending on who you're playing. So time of possession is also a massive thing. So it's like you got to make sure, like, okay, how many ways can I win? I just can't be a one-trick pony. And that's pretty much how I look at it for playoffs.
I agree. I agree. And I don't want to call nobody out because I don't want to be the guy that, to call anybody out or be wrong, in this case. But like, just to kind of echo on what you said, I think a lot of these high-powered offensive teams are going to get exposed in the playoffs because, as you said, some people are one-dimensional. If you can stop their, 1 to 2, schemes, if they don't have anything to back up, we've seen in recent weeks where teams have stopped it because they know how to stop their certain scheme. and they do not know how to make the transition to, okay, I have to change my game style, I have to change my play style up, I have to do this, you know what I mean? Because sometimes you have to make switches on the fly, you have to make different assignments, maybe your second corner is better at pressing their star receiver, so maybe you have to switch him in the depth chart and put him on, as one, or maybe you got to make some man alignment adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe swatting the ball, because some people like throwing high passes, whatever, you know what I mean, might be
Mm-hmm.
beneficial towards you, you know what I mean? Maybe having the taller corner on that tall receiver, even though he's not the fastest, might be beneficial, you know what I mean? So I think there's going to be I think there's going to be some teams that are going to get exposed. And I will say this though, the teams that are depending on the run, like that is their, their strength of their team. I just don't really foresee that being able to be the main focus of their offense. You're going to have to come up with some type of creativity to pass the ball because you can't be too one-dimensional. Unless, of course, that defense is not great, which there's some defenses that are in the playoffs that, according to rankings and stats, they're not the greatest. They just have played bad users or they have scored more points than their opponent, which obviously the name of the
Mm-hmm.
game is score more points than whoever you're playing. But again, I just, like I said, I think that if you are in the playoffs and you know you're in the playoffs, I think, just my suggestion would be is definitely figure out some game plans and definitely have some backups that no one's seen. You know what I mean? Because if people are studying your game film and they're looking at your clips and whatnot, and they're like, all right, when he goes in gun bunch, he's gonna run the PA seams. So okay, does he have hot route master? All right, he's gonna hot route that guy. You know what I mean? After you see it so many times and you play the same people over and over, you tend to catch on to it sooner or later. So I think the really good users are going to be able to stop that. And if you don't have a backup plan for that, I think you're gonna find yourself being exited out really early.
1000%.
Um, but again, um, congratulations to everybody that's made it, and even congratulations to OJ. I know you got the win, and you right now you're sitting, you're sitting in the locker room right now, waiting for the Jags game to go on to figure out if you're gonna make it or not. Even if you don't make it, congrats to you because you definitely did play the game without even knowing, having any uncertainties of whether you're in or out. And sometimes, unfortunately, it does play out that way, even in real life in the NFL. But like I said, congratulations to you as well, and as all the teams that made it into the playoffs. Because again, it's no easy feat, even if you're not on the most dominant conference, which I think, in my opinion, is the AFC. It's still no easy task. You still got to beat people. You still got to play people in AFC as well. Still got to beat your division rivals. You know what I mean? It's again, you still got to win games. So, like I said, shout out to them.
1000%.
So we're gonna go into topic 4, which is the key injuries. Um, I was looking on here. I was actually expecting a lot more injuries, just because EA is unfortunately infamous for just having all these crazy injuries pop up in week 17 and week 18. Guys just start getting torn libriums or turf toe, or just these crazy injuries that just happen out of nowhere. Even if they're like well rested and whatnot. However, the key injuries that I seen that stood out to me was Cordarrelle Patterson, the halfback for Atlanta Falcons. Going back to that, like I was talking about it earlier, is that that run offense isn't the greatest in ranking. And with him being out, you have to look at towards your backup, and I just don't see any strong core there. So you're basically going to have to rely heavily on Riddler and your basically your receivers to kind of sort of carry you through the playoffs, unless of course you can find something, in the free agency dumpster, and you can plug that in and put that together. You know what I mean? So that's something that definitely might want to watch and keep an eye on to see how he does that. Maybe he doesn't need to run the ball. Maybe he's just going to be one dimensional and he has enough game plans to make it through the playoffs. But again, that's a key injury for me. And also for the Detroit Lions, Jameson Williams. I feel like that's also a key injury. It does play a role in his team. But I don't think it'll be a big effect on him as he has other players in there that he could probably plug in and definitely, maybe, probably make some switches and whatnot. But it definitely will, he'll definitely have to make some type of change and make some type of game plan. But I don't think it'll be as big of a hit as Cordell Patterson will be, because Cordell Patterson, while he's a halfback, he also can play the receiver position. He's a utility player. And he's a receiving back as well, so you can utilize him in so many different formations in so many different schemes, is that he's a very valuable player, even as up in age as he is now.
Yeah. AFC wise, really the only person to me that of value that was injured is Orlando Brown, who's going to miss at least, well, you're only guaranteed one playoff game. So he will be out for the wild card game, which obviously you want to protect Mahomes. Like, he is the golden child. You want to protect your quarterback.
Hmm.
Anything that hinders that is a no bueno. But besides that, really, it's like the Raiders, their right guard, who's very below average, is injured. The Bills have their second defensive tackle. He is injured. Daquan Jones, he's out for at least 2 weeks with a torn labrum. I mean, my bad, 3 weeks with a torn labrum. And so, for really, it's just the Chiefs with Orlando Brown. NFC wise, I feel bad for that Lions user because Jameson Williams to me is one of the most, like, I have a no trade policy for Waddle, but the only person I would trade Waddle for is honestly Jameson Williams, and that's because he's 6'2" with 98 speed. You can't find that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, so he's a game changer for me. But
Yeah.
that's what we have for AFC injury wise.
Yeah, I agree. I just think with the way his offense runs, I think he might be able to make, because I've watched a few of his games. And
Okay.
it's always good to have some speedsters out there, but I think he can make some switches. Of course, there's nobody on his roster that's going to replace Williams at all. There's nobody. Um, but I don't think it'll affect him as much, on offense. Again, we'll have to see, you know what I mean? I think it just depends on the user too and who he's playing, and how they line up and whatnot. But again, any injury to a top player is definitely, always a concern, because again, if you have a certain way of how your depth chart is lined up, you then have to realign it again because, unfortunately EA will mess up your entire roster when someone gets hurt. So,
Yeah.
um, you know what I mean? It kind of sucks, you know what I mean? Or you pick up somebody or drop somebody, you literally have to go right back into your roster and go into your, every single position, including your sub linebacker and your, um, you know, your third down running back, your power halfback. Like, you literally got to go through everything and readjust everything, which can be very aggravating, at times, because that's time that you're literally going to have to, take to actually, put players in. But again, when someone's hurt, this close in time where there's really not much available in free agency. I mean, granted, you might get a receiver that might be dumped because, maybe guys are trying to free up cap space. They're trying to figure out what they can spend in free agency. So maybe you might get lucky. Somebody might dump a band-aid type of player in there. But, you know, I guess we'll have to see and how it unfolds. But I think the Detroit Lions will be okay, at least for now. But I think if he makes it deep in the playoffs, he's definitely gonna need Williams to help him out. Going into maybe like the championship, the NFC championship game, if he gets that point.
Yeah. He will. They're absolutely, especially to keep up with the other users in the conference.
Definitely, definitely, and it definitely and especially right now, and this is no disrespect to anybody in the NFC, but right now the top team that I see right now, I mean, they can make fun of them and call them the regular season warrior, but right now the Packers offense is just ridiculous. I mean, the guy's about to get 1,000 points in a season. It's just unheard of, and I don't see any offense matching that. So it's really going to come up to, user skills and defense. That's really going to be able to slow him down. I mean, there has been, user that did slow him down and did play him and did beat him. However, you kind of have to follow that formula, but some people don't have those type of players to stop, Watson or any of his guys, to be able to put pressure on Rodgers and stuff like that. So I think, you know, teams have to look at that too and say, okay, um, as they're finding out, what their identity is, you know, defense if you're playing him, you're gonna have to like, he's got to be like the top dog you want to take out early. I think if he gets past, the wild card teams, and again, this is no disrespect to anybody in the divisional, but if he gets past like the wild card teams, the hot teams that I feel like that, they're in the wild card right now, and there's just some average teams as far as defense wise, and they go into division round, they play him, he's gonna walk right through. He's gonna walk right to the Super Bowl. And there's a couple teams I think in there that could potentially beat him, but it just depends on matching up a personnel and whatnot. But you know, again, we'll see. I mean, because anything can happen any given Sunday. That momentum bar is definitely, excuse my French, a bitch. Because if that your screen starts shaking and you can't see your icons, depending on what the advantage is, it can definitely take effect on how you're doing things, especially if you need to hit the R2 button or hit the L2 button to see where that route is going, or if it's just a muscle memory thing. You know what I mean? A lot of times when that screen is shaking, the momentum is going. Depending on what the momentum is, it does play a slight role into the game.
Absolutely, man. And so that's why there's a way to play Jodine, but unless you know how to do it, and you have, like I said, like you have to have the right game plan on offense to also like, you don't have to try and score 60,000 points with Jodine, but like as long as you can just play your right game and just play a smart game, then he's beatable. But if you're trying to go reckless and expect to score 45 to try and beat him, then you've already lost to me mentally.
I agree. I don't think um, having a shootout with Jodine and the Packers is the way to go. You know what I mean. You do have to score some points. You're not, you know what I mean. You're not going to score 10 points. It's not going to be like a 10-7 game, or you're just going to be kicking field goals all game. Like that's not going to happen. But I just don't think you can really do a shootout with him and be victorious unless you know what I mean. I think the only person that can maybe possibly do a shootout with him. But this is not even an NFC. This is on the AFC. It'd be the top three seeds in AFC. I feel like could potentially do a shootout with him. And again, I wouldn't even recommend it honestly. I would rather, if I was anybody playing him, I would rather see him on the bench. Well, his offense on the bench and literally kill clock within the rules, of course, and just what I mean. Let his offense sit on there, sit on the sideline, and just play mistake-free football, and you know what I mean, and beat them that way.
1,000%.
Alrighty, so we're going to go into our next topic, which our next topic we want to talk about is our award show for Crossfire. So I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the announcements. We are having an award show. Various awards for best user, best coach, most improved user, best supportive user, things like that. Those awards are going to be announced on our pre-Super Bowl show. Obviously, ETA is up in the air because we have to see how the playoff schedule is going to go and see what the pace is going to be. If the pace is ideally how normal playoffs go, which is like a 24-hour, 36-hour-ish type of schedule, at least for the first round of playoffs, then I think we could possibly, and again, this is just a wild guess, we could maybe possibly hit it by Sunday. But again, this all depends on guys and depends on their schedules and depends on how things are played out. You know what I mean? But in a perfect world, I would say maybe Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, probably the weekend. But the way it's looking right now, just to even get past week 18, and a couple games being playoff implications, and deciding, factoring seeds, and just basically where teams are going to be at. Are you going to be a fifth seed or a sixth seed or a seventh seed, or are you going to be eliminated? I suspect the show will probably be going in sometime next week, but well, obviously, if you pay attention to the announcement, Jagoda posts, he'll keep you in the loop on that. However, we want to talk about the award that we did get the results on. So looking on here, um, basically, and I want to make sure I word this correctly because there is two different type of awards for this, and I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression or get the wrong wording on this because this was something that we were talking about on here. So basically, there was there was a voting going up, a poll going up for the top users in Crossfire League so far. Now, not talking about for the entire season, just talking about just now, just top users now in the Crossfire League. It doesn't reflect what you did for the entire season. It's just talking about now. And right now we have the top 5 users on here. So we're gonna start with the bottom and we're gonna go to the top. So in 5th place we have with 8 votes, tied uh, with the Bills. We have the Falcons proficient with 8 votes. Obviously, I gave up the 4th answer. Jay Billa with 8 votes. Then we have Dallas the Savage with 14 votes in the 3rd place. And then we had a very close matchup for the 2nd and 1st place. The 2nd place we have is Jodine with 20 votes. And then we have the Bengals user with 21 votes. So he is voted as the official top user so far in Crossfire League. Savage, you being 3rd place, obviously you beat that guy on the top. Obviously this isn't a reflection of the season, but do you feel like you should have been higher? Do you feel like you should have been lower? Do you feel like do you feel like this list is accurate, based on your knowledge of these guys because you've been here for a while?
Um, so this is my, like I said, third or fourth full season. So I was okay, whatever. Uh, Bengals getting the number one vote. Personally, I don't mind it only because he has won 2 of the last 3 Crossfire Super Bowls. Jodine, even honestly, I still don't have an issue with Jodine being, 20 votes. He's 16-1 currently, even though he is known as a, regular season warrior. But he puts up all the big numbers, so it does look, you got to give credit. He does put up all the big numbers.
Yeah.
But y'all not finna tell me that Jodine is a better user than me. I'm sorry. Well, really, as I look at this image of, the top 5, there is one thing that is pretty consistent amongst them all. I beat all of them this year except for the Falcons, and that's only because I did not play him. I've won a Super Bowl against one. I just beat the other one who was undefeated. Billa, I beat, obviously. He also beat me because we're in the same division. We split this season. Proficient, I haven't played him this Madden currently. But, I feel like it is an award based. If you look at the stats, both users will have better stats than me only because I am not honestly a stat chaser. I really could care less. I'm just trying to get I'm just trying to get a W and keep it pushing. I ain't trying to throw for 300 touchdowns and rush for, well, really none of these guys are rushing guys. But they put up, the key passing numbers. And so it's, I understand it. It's a little cupcake. But for me, I still say probably second behind Bengals because I do think he's a great user. So I will put myself behind him. But you're not putting me behind Jody. I'm sorry, no. You're not going to call a regular season guy better than a real clutch, never lost a Super Bowl, won it first year uh, with the base Bengals or previous man, and then came back around and defined it again and winning with the Dolphins. I win in multiple ways. There is no scheme with me. It's just you win. I'm a winner. That's how I look at it.
Gotcha.
I
You know,
see a complaint in chat. I'm sorry. I see a complaint in chat from
and
Bengals.
I,
Bengals. As soon to me, I say you are stat chasing. As soon as a stat don't even sound uh achievable in real life situations. So if you tell me that them Burrow stats is achievable in a real life situation, come on now.
if you go based on that, then you really just calling out both of those guys on top because again, uh, Aaron Rodgers with his 100 and I don't even know 110 touchdowns, he's got over 100 plus touchdowns. That's all I know. And then Watson with like I think like 60 something touchdowns. Like those are unrealistic numbers. Like by all means. And I mean, it's no disrespect to them because they play the game and they play the game, how it best fits them. And they don't hold no punches. You know what I mean? They don't care if you're giving
Mm-hmm.
up. They don't care if you're trying to quit. You're trying to chew clock for the entire game. They're gonna
Mm-hmm.
score. It's like 10 seconds on the clock. One. I've played both. Well, no, I've played one of them. Oh no, actually, I think I did play both of them. They're gonna try to throw the ball. They don't care. You know what I mean? They're not there to show any sportsmanship or anything like that. They have no disregard to that. Um, you know what I mean? So I guess it's one of those things where you sort of kind of like it's sort of like a personal thing. It's more of a character thing. You know what I mean? Some of us might have some honor into it and just like, you know what? I'm already kicking your ass. I'll kneel the ball out and let it go and let it be.
Exactly. That's what
Um,
I do. I'm not trying to do. Yeah.
you know, um, and that's how this season I haven't been able to do it, but the few guys that I've been able to do it against and be able to, beat them, I did. You know what I mean? When they have no timeouts, I'm not trying to rub it in their face anymore. I mean, it's bad enough you lost, and especially if you're losing big, it's just to me it's a respect thing. But again, I don't sit there and hold them to them standards either because like I told the Bengals user when I took the Steelers team when it was supposed to ideally be Jacob's team. I took the team because honestly it was the best in the board, but I told them I was like I don't want you to feel bad for me, feel sorry. If you want to score 60 70 points, by all means go ahead and do it because eventually I'm going to learn. It's just it's going to take a transition in time and figuring out how guys are and whatever. But I mean, after you see it so many times, you're going to tend to learn how to, stop it and whatnot. And eventually, if
Mm-hmm.
you play the best users in the league, you're going to get better. You can't get any worse. You know what I mean? So, but one interesting fact that I did know looking at this graphic is that has the Falcons ever won a Super Bowl in Crossfire that you know of?
Um, that is a question for the chat. I only know the people who have won since I have been in here.
Okay, because all I see right here is the top four, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think everybody in here with the question mark to the Falcons have all won a Super Bowl. So everybody in here has gotten a taste of the ring. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't feel like this graphic
Uh,
is.
he said no, never been in one. The Falcons have
Oh,
never been in.
so it should be an honor for the Falcons to definitely be up there and be up there for to vote it as the top user so far. In the Crossfire League. I'm interested to see what team is going to be voted as the best user for the season because obviously, those might be different numbers, especially with you beating everybody on this board except for the Falcons because you didn't play them. So I'm interested to see if people take that in consideration. Or does it become like sort of like how the NFL is, or the MVP? It's more like a popular vote. You know what I mean? And they just kind of sort of like look at the most popular person. I mean, again, I don't know how people are going to vote in here, but it'll be interesting to see that, to see if people
Uh,
consider, those voting,
but I
how
mean,
they're going to vote.
I would say even the fact that I came in third, 14 votes. I'm fine with it only because, at the end of the day, I've still barely relatively been in Crossfire. Proficient said this is like he's yet to even complete a full season.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I mean, it's like, he's earning his keep. And so for me,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, first year in here, won a ring, then consistently been in the top of the top. So it's like, all right, cool, whatever. But I understand Bengals getting, top spot. He was on like a 19. He was on a crazy, crazy win streak to start. Because he won the Super Bowl, then won another Super Bowl, or was on his way. Yeah, I want to say he won 2 Super Bowls. And then he was on some insane win streak. I don't know. And he ended up, his win streak ended up being triumphed, put to an end by a certain Miami Dolphins user, whoever that be. Same with Joe Dean. He was on a terrific win streak. It ended up being stopped by another user. But I feel like, honestly, the reason is because I don't put up those massive numbers, which to me is perfectly fine. I'm not going to try and put up massive numbers. They will put up massive numbers. I won't. But when it's always interesting to me how the games go once we do play. So that's how I look at it. Like, yeah, I might not do it for all week, whatever, 1 through 17 in terms of, or 1 through 18 in terms of, I'm not throwing for 500 yards, 300, 300. But I mean, I'll do my regular numbers, but whenever I play a top guy, it's all about how those guys match up with each other. So that's how I look at
Yeah.
it.
I mean, at the end of the day, when it all comes down to it, them regular season stats don't mean jack. It's all about the one main goal is obviously being the Super Bowl champion. For the Crossfire League to for your bragging rights, and no one can take that away from you unless of course it's around July and half the league is dead and half the league got abducted by Iron by now and they're just waiting for Madden 24 to come out with their awesome trailers and we get the Madden hype again and then we probably get disappointed again, but you know what I mean, like that's all really matters at the end of the day is winning the championship. You know what I mean? I mean the stats do look nice. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Like it's always nice to be the top receiver, top quarterback, top running back, just kind of like for those accolades, those individual accolades. But when it comes down to it, when you go into the chat and you start arguing, you're going back and forth, the first thing they're gonna bring up is rings. How many rings do you got? You know what I mean? And then it goes to head, like, oh, well, I beat you 3 times and you beat me none, once, or, you know what I mean? So I feel like, like you were saying, like, you're like, hey, I don't care about the numbers. I think that's a great mentality to have because, again, it doesn't matter at the end of the day because the playoffs, it's a different type of breeze, a different type of atmosphere. You know what I mean? You can't have a bad game and then make it up next week because there is no next week if you lose. You know what I mean? You get one
Mm-hmm.
opportunity, one shot to beat your opponent, the best of your ability. And hopefully your game plan and your scheme is better than his. You know what I mean? And hopefully your team doesn't make mistakes and hopefully the momentum bar is in your favor as well, because again, things do happen any given Sunday.
Absolutely. And, one last comment, because Jodine is in chat, talking trash. So my thing is like I said, going back to the stat thing, it's funny to me because it's like, yes, he does not, like, yes, he's going to put up all these massive numbers, which if we're talking in the best user discussion, I look at it like, okay, how do you fare against top users as well? So what is more impressive? The number one offense probably ever who's putting up 77, 70, 60, 70, 70, 50, 60, 70 points a game, 84 I see in one game. He's doing this all season long. But all of a sudden, 1 week, he scores 24, which
Yeah,
is
I
like,
see.
oh, okay. And it's like, there's a reason for that. The same way it's like whenever he played Bryce. Bryce is one of those guys where like Bryce is tough to beat. Bryce is a guy nobody wants to see. Trust me, I don't prefer to play Bryce. But at the end of the day, it's like if I do play him, okay, what happened whenever I played Bryce? It was 29-31. I won. It's like, yeah, we're gonna have close games. That's just how it is. Like, come on, man. Jodine, even whenever Jodine played me early in the first time we played this cycle, whenever I was with, I believe, the Niners, which I completely had to change the way I play with that team due to things out of my control. He won. I threw 6 pick 6s. Like his offense didn't do anything. That was the crazy part. But I threw 6 pick 6s. So it was like, all right, whatever. And then that's why as soon as we played again, you cut out those turnovers and then you get a win. Like that's just how it goes. Like I'm
So yeah, and that's sometimes you have to make those little adjustments. But we just got the notification here from Jagoda. I guess the AFC wildcard matchups are already set. So somewhere they must have got tired of us hearing us talk about this award show, and they must have just go ahead and proceeded on or played their games. And
playoffs are live.
yeah, and what I find very hilarious is that the game that the Raiders was trying to avoid due to injuries. No disrespect to T-Kells because you were an awesome guest. They're playing each other again. The Chiefs are playing the Raiders again. They're playing the Raiders at home. And so it's like, you avoided the thing for injuries, but guess what? You're going to see them again. So that's pretty cool. And then the Ravens are playing the Bengals, and then you got the Bills against the Jags, which we kind of figured their Bills were going to play the Jags. In that situation. What do you think about those matchups there? Is there anything that you feel like do you have like I don't know, maybe like a dark horse pick here in the situation? You think someone's going to upset somebody in here in this round, or do you think it's just going to be sort of like, who's going to win?
If I'm gonna go with an upset, well, unfortunately, Bengals just blew out the Ravens. So not gonna go with that. I'll say every game is gonna be close this round, besides Bengals Ravens, and I'll say if I'm gonna pick an upset, and I think very highly of this user, so if I'm gonna pick an upset, I'm gonna take the Giants beating the Falcons round one. By seed, Bucks is a lower seed than Cowboys, but I think Bucks is a better user than the Cowboys. So I think Bucks beat Cowboys, and I think Giants upset Falcons.
That's I can't even argue with that because again, you look at the Bucks. I mean, with Tom Brady, just the touchdown interception ratio is just because you always see those guys with like 70 touchdowns, 60 touchdowns, 50 touchdowns, but they got like 30, 35 picks, 40 picks, and it's like, yeah, those touchdowns are great, those yards are great, but it's like as many touchdowns you're getting, you're also turning the ball over. My upset, honestly, and I'm I might kick myself in there, but the two teams I think that there's going to be an upset. Um, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with the Raiders upsetting the Chiefs. I think the Raiders are gonna go in with a chip on his shoulder, and I think he has a game plan, and he's already put the league on notice that he's watching. Just because he's not in the chat getting those levels up doesn't mean he's not paying attention. Anybody that puts that much effort to watch the games, they're putting in a little their little work in, and they're definitely figuring out who's what. I'm sure he's probably already seen um the Chiefs play, you know what I mean? And again, he's called out people that are not even in the playoffs. You know what I mean? He's called up the Chargers, and he's like, I'm watching you. I know you're in my division. I got my eyes on you. And then my other pick, which I hate to see it because again, I kind of feel like he's going to be that. He's got a great defense. I'm going to say the Detroit Lions upset the 49ers. I'm going to go with that one. I just feel like the 49ers offense is just one dimensional. And I feel like he's not going to take my advice and he's not going to have Trey Lance not throw more than 25 times, and he's going to turn the ball over, and the Lions is just going to take advantage of it. But again, the Lions also is a turnover machine too. But I just feel like the Lions has a better chance at least squeaking out a win. I feel, than the 49ers just based on, again, on offense. Again, it's one of those picks that, I wouldn't bet on, but if I had to pick, two upset teams, like I said, I would pick that, and then of course, I picked the Raiders upsetting the Chiefs. Um, I would actually like it if this happened. I know it's probably not going to happen, but I would love, and I don't say I love like like is a, like I have any hate or animosity towards anybody because I'm pretty cool with everybody in here for the most part. But I would love to see the Ravens upset the Bengals because the
Oh
amount
man.
of humble pie that the Bengals would have to eat of being one of the top teams and getting kicked out in the first round. I just would love to, you know what I mean? I would want to see it, at least once a cycle, just to have somebody, a 7 seed, a Ravens who got blown out, you know, beat a top dog team, and someone like him who's constantly in the chat and constantly active. You know what I mean? What is your comeback? You know what I mean? If you get beat by someone that you just blew out in the
Uh,
regular season.
I ain't gonna lie to you. There are certain things in life we all want. Like we won $1 million. We want to win the lottery. Ravens might want to win that game, but no, that's not happening. It's just not. He can go ahead and pack what my boy Eli Apple over there. You know what he said? Cancun on three. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Go and get the bags ready. I will say game of the week will be. I think. I think Bella versus Jags will be the best game played. Giants to me, word of advice to a Giants user. Can't remember your name off the top right now. Take running back apprentice
Well,
off of Saquon take running back apprentice off of Saquon Barkley. Give that man Tank or give him arm bar, something. If you ride Saquon Barkley to a victory, let that be the way. Because Saquon is good enough to take you all the way. Saquon and Matt Breida is a 1-2 combo that is going to be a lot of trouble for people. Ride them and play good defense. And besides, I think Napalm versus Bucks is not going to be a pretty game. I think it'll be like at least 17.
yeah.
Sorry,
Um,
sorry, Nate. Sorry, Nate.
I,
If I'm
you
wrong, then
know,
I'll say I'm wrong.
yeah, on paper, there's just some games you look at and you're just like, yeah, that's an unfortunate matchup, and it is what it is. I mean, it does happen. Um, you know, you can, like I said, there's just some teams out there like that could manage the game and could do the time possession thing, but there's like you said, there's just some games unfortunately that you just what I mean. You're glad that you're there, but you know that there more than likely is going to be a first round exit, and it's unfortunate, but hey, you did it, and there's other users out here like myself that are watching from the outside in on the non-playoff couch, getting drinks and getting the free drinks from Crossfire. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I just want to see like I don't even care what team it is. I just want to see like an underdog team, just kind of make their push, even if they don't win it all. Just kind of make their push and kind of make their stands. And again, Falcons user being new, that would be something. I mean, imagine if the Falcons beats the Packers and goes to Super Bowl, or or
Jordan better
imagine
hope
if
that don't never happen. Jordan better hope
yeah.
that. Actually, I take that back. No, I ain't gonna say nothing because then if I lose, hey, I'm going into the hibernation. so,
But
so
I
hey,
mean,
don't.
I honestly feel like the dominant team in NFC is the Packers, but I feel like the dominant conference is the AFC, and I feel like there's so many tough teams like T-Kells was saying, it it could go either way. You know what I mean? There's some teams like some games that you're gonna look at and you're like, yeah, but then there's gonna be some even teams like, you and Billa and you and Bengals. I mean, those are tough games. Those are not no pushover matches. Like those are not games that you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I can definitely say that guy's gonna be the winner. I mean, you might bet on that because you like the user or you feel like he'll beat him this time, but there's no definite real answer. There's going to be really good games. It's going to depend on how the game plays out. But I don't know. I feel like the NFC is a toss up, and unless of course Jodine proves that he's not a regular season warrior and he gets the Super Bowl, but even getting to the Super Bowl, I think is not going to be enough for him. I think he has to win a chip so he can honestly just claim his throne in Crossfire and say, yeah, you know what I mean? I'm not a regular season warrior. Like I put up these crazy stats, but I could also win a chip as well. So, we'll see what happens. But is there anything else you can think of or you got right now? I think that's pretty much the end of our topics, end of the show here.
Nah, man, I just know next episode is gonna be crazy. Y'all just be ready. That's I'm gonna just leave it at that, man. I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Yeah. All I know is whoever makes it to the Super Bowl, whatever you are, I don't care if you're not a trash talker, you better have your best trash talking game. You know what I mean? You better go over your little scripts and your rehearsals, and just bring it. You know what I mean? Bring the entertainment. I really hope that a big trash talker goes in. Like you know what I mean? It'd be funny to have the Packers like Jodine come in there or Bengals or somebody that just can what I mean? That's gonna talk trash and just what I mean? Kind of talk trash to their opponent. Maybe play some kind of mental head games with them and just psychological warfare. But I'm definitely excited, especially with the award show too. Kudos to the admin team at Jagoda putting that together. That's going to be exciting because there's going to be some users on there that are going to win awards that maybe are not in the playoffs or maybe did make it to the playoffs but are out, and they're going to at least get some type of recognition for their hard work. You know what I mean? Or whatever they're doing and contributing to the to the Crossfire League, as well as the comeback user award for a team that played poorly last season but is playing amazing this season. Maybe that award goes to TKells. I mean, again, I don't know too much history behind a lot of these users, so I wouldn't even know where to start. But as time goes on, it'll be I think it'll be a pretty cool award show for guys to definitely tune into.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Alrighty. Well, that's it. That's the end of our show here. Thanks for tuning in. Again, the projected time right now it's not set in stone, of course, because it all depends on the playoffs and how they go. Obviously, playoffs got pushed. I thought it wasn't even going to be played till tomorrow, but the ideal date is Saturday. ETA time is still up in the air, but that is the time frame we would like, the day we expect it to be. But of course, things do happen and people do have lives and things do come up. So just keep yourself in the chat and definitely participate in these votes for these races. Jagoda is doing a lot of hard work in getting these things put together. So I get it. Sometimes people don't want to vote. Some people don't want to be in the chat and don't really care to be active. But this admin staff does take a lot of time to put in all this stuff in here. All this content effort with the content team and the graphic team, the bloggers and guys like me and Dallas doing the show. It does take a lot of hard work, and all it takes honestly is 5 minutes of your time of just clicking a button, just typing in some letters in your in your smartphone, whether you got an Android or iPhone or your laptop if you're pretty cool, you're a cool kid on the block, and just putting in those answers and just what I mean, just kind of giving back to let those guys know that hey, I see what you're doing and I'm participating, because again, this is going to be a content driven league. So this stuff that Jagoda is putting out right now, this is just like the tip of the iceberg, and this is like honestly, this is like sort of like the preseason for Crossfire. And if guys don't make that transition and roll over to kind of start doing this and make this a habit, you're going to kind of face some trials and tribulations as we get closer to Madden 24. So with that being said, thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Dallas, for being a great host, and we look forward to seeing you guys, on the pre-Super Bowl show.
Thank you.